My name is Ethan, and I used to love Christmas nights. I don't anymore. This happened 3 years ago in a small town in northern Minnesota. One of those places where winter isn't a season, it's a condition. Snow piles up taller than mailboxes, and by December, silence feels permanent. That year, my wife had taken our daughter to visit her parents 2 states away. I stayed back because of work. Just 4 nights alone. That was the plan. I remember locking the door after they left and feeling that hollow quiet settle in. Not peaceful, empty. Outside, snow fell in thick, slow sheets, the kind that muffles everything. No cars, no footsteps, just white. I turned on the Christmas lights anyway. Tree, fireplace, soft music. I wanted the house to feel occupied. Around 7:40 p.m., I was on the couch scrolling my phone when the doorbell rang. I froze. Nobody rings doorbells here at night in winter. You text. You call. You don't stand outside in 10-degree weather. I muted the TV. Silence. Then the bell rang again. Not impatient, not aggressive, just deliberate. I stood up slowly and walked to the front door, careful not to make noise. The porch light was off. I flipped it on. A man stood there, mid-30s, maybe early 40s. No hat, thin jacket, snow collecting on his shoulders like he'd been standing there longer than he should have. He wasn't smiling. He was staring at the welcome mat. I didn't open the door. I spoke through it. "Can I help you?" He looked up, almost surprised I was there. "Oh," he said softly. "Good. You're home." Something in the way he said "good" made my stomach tighten. "Yeah," I replied. "What do you need?" He glanced over his shoulder, down the empty street, then back at me. "I'm collecting donations," he said, "for families who didn't make it home for Christmas." That didn't make sense, but before I could question it, he continued, "I just need a moment." "No," I said. "Sorry, not interested." I reached to turn away. The bell rang again. He hadn't pressed it. The sound came from inside my house. My blood went cold. I looked at the doorbell speaker on the wall, then back at the door. The man's voice came through, too close. "You should open the door," he said calmly. "It's cold." I stepped back. "How did you—" The bell rang a 3rd time, slow, even. My phone buzzed in my hand, a text from my wife. "Everything okay?" I didn't reply. "I'm calling the police," I said loudly. The man tilted his head, listening. "No," he said. "You won't." Silence followed, long enough that I wondered if he'd left. Then, knocking. Not on the door, on the side of the house. My heart started racing. I backed toward the kitchen, grabbing the counter for balance. The knocking moved, slowly, along the siding. Tap, 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 like someone dragging their knuckles across the walls. "Please stop," I said, my voice shaking. The tapping stopped. Then came a whisper through the doorbell speaker. "I just want to see the tree." I ran upstairs, locked the bedroom door, pulled the curtains back just enough to see the front yard. The man stood at the end of my driveway now, facing the house. Snow had covered his footprints except one clear path, straight from the porch. He raised his hand, and waved. My phone buzzed again. This time, no notification sound, just vibration. I looked down. A new message. Unknown number. Your lights look nice. I dropped the phone. Downstairs, the doorbell rang one more time. Then everything went quiet. No footsteps, no knocking, no movement. I stayed upstairs until morning. When the sun finally came up, I found footprints circling the house. Every window, every door, including the back one I never use, and in the snow beneath the living room window, written with a finger, tomorrow. He came back when the lights were off. I didn't sleep that night. Every time the house creaked, every time the wind pushed snow against the walls, my eyes snapped open. Morning didn't feel like relief. It felt like exposure. At 6:12 a.m., my wife called. "Ethan, what's wrong?" she asked. You didn't reply. I told her everything. The man, the doorbell, the message, the word in the snow. There was a long pause on the line. "Call the police," she said quietly. "Right now." I did. They arrived an hour later. 2 officers. They walked the perimeter, took photos of the footprints, nodded at the writing. One of them crouched near the living room window and frowned. "These prints," he said, "they're not fresh." "What do you mean?" I asked. "They've been partially filled with snow," he replied. "Some of these were made before last night's snowfall." My throat went dry. "So he was here earlier?" The officer stood up. "Looks that way." They told me it was probably a prank. Maybe someone from town. Maybe someone mentally unstable. They advised me to keep the doors locked and call again if he returned. If. By noon, the snowstorm picked up again. Visibility dropped. The world outside my windows turned white and endless. I packed a bag. I was going to leave. But as I opened the back door, my phone buzzed. "You weren't supposed to wake up alone." I slammed the door shut. That afternoon, I turned every light on in the house, all of them. Living room, kitchen, hallway, even the basement. Darkness felt like an invitation. Around 5:30 p.m., the power went out. Everything died at once. Lights, heat, music. Silence rushed in. I stood frozen in the living room, listening to my own breathing. Then the generator kicked on. Lights flickered back, except the Christmas tree. The tree stayed dark. I hadn't unplugged it. My phone vibrated again. Much better. That's when I heard it. The bell. Not ringing, being pressed and held. The sound stretched unnaturally long, buzzing through the house like a warning alarm. I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. The bell stopped. Footsteps followed. Not outside, inside the house. Slow, careful, like someone learning the layout. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. I whispered, "Who's there?" No answer. The footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs, paused. Then the doorbell speaker crackled to life again, even though the front door was 30 feet away. "I told you tomorrow," the man said softly. "You left the back door unlocked yesterday." I realized then what the police hadn't said out loud. The footprints, the older ones. He'd been here before my family left. I ran, locked myself in the bathroom, called 911 with shaking hands. "I need help," I whispered. "Someone is inside my house." The operator started asking questions. Behind me, the bathroom door handle began to turn. Slowly. Testing. I can hear you breathing, the man said from the other side. It's rude to whisper. The handle stopped turning. Then footsteps moved away. The operator stayed on the line until sirens filled the distance. By the time the police burst in, the house was empty. No sign of forced entry. No man. Just one thing missing. The Christmas tree. Gone. They never found him. But 2 weeks later, after my family moved back in, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a single Christmas ornament, a small bell, and taped to it, a note written in careful handwriting. Next year, don't turn the lights on. I took the tree down that night. I don't decorate anymore. And every Christmas Eve, no matter where I live, I unplug the doorbell. He asked me to let him warm his hands. My name is Caleb Turner, and I work the night desk at a roadside motel off Route 12 in rural Wisconsin. Christmas Eve is usually dead out there. Truckers want to be home. Families avoid highways when the snow starts swallowing lanes. By midnight, the world shrinks to headlights and wind. That night, it was -6 degrees Fahrenheit, the kind of cold that bites through glass. I was alone at the desk, boots kicked up on a chair, half watching a rerun while the heater rattled like it might give up. Outside, the parking lot lights hummed, throwing weak yellow circles onto drifting snow. At 12:17 a.m., the automatic doors didn't open. They should have. I noticed because the bell rang anyway. A soft ding. I looked up. A man was standing inside the lobby. No sound of the door sliding. No rush of cold air. Just there. Mid-40s, gray beard, no gloves, no hat. His hands were red, angry red, like they'd been in ice water too long. He smiled at me. "Evening," he said. His voice was calm, steady, normal enough to be wrong. I stood. "Sir, the doors are locked," he finished gently. "Yeah, I know." My stomach tightened. "How did you get in?" I asked. He looked at his hands, flexed his fingers like they hurt. "Can I warm these up first?" he asked. "They're starting to go numb." The heater kicked louder. I glanced at the security monitor. Camera 1, parking lot, empty. Camera 2, highway, snow. Camera 3, lobby. The lobby camera was frozen, paused. The timestamp blinked 12:03 a.m. It was 12:17. "I asked you something," I said. He looked up again, smile gone. "I walked," he said, "from the tree farm." "There's no tree farm within 10 miles. His eyes flicked, just for a second, to the hallway behind me, then back. "Feels longer in winter," he said. I reached under the desk and wrapped my fingers around the panic button. The owner installed it after a robbery years back. Silent alarm. Sheriff's office 30 minutes away on a good night. The man noticed my hand move. His smile returned. "You don't need to do that," he said. "I'm not here to stay." I pressed the button anyway. Nothing happened. No light, no click. The heater cut out. Cold rushed in like a living thing. I could see my breath now. The man exhaled slowly, fog rolling from his mouth. "Thank you," he said. "That's better." I took a step back. "Sir," You need to leave. He nodded, like I'd said something reasonable. After, he said, I ask you one question. I didn't answer. He leaned forward slightly. Did you hear the knocking earlier? My heart skipped. What knocking? He watched my face change. Oh, he said softly. Then that means you didn't look. Look at what? The rooms, he replied. They knock when they're cold. A sound came from the hallway. Not footsteps, not voices. Knocking. Slow. Hollow. From one of the upstairs rooms. Then another knock answered it. Then another. Room to room, like someone checking doors. I backed against the wall. What did you do? I whispered. The man looked almost disappointed. Nothing yet, he said. I'm waiting to see who's awake. The lobby lights flickered. For half a second, the glass doors reflected the room behind me. In the reflection, the hallway was full. Shadows standing where no one should be. Too tall. Too still. I spun around. The hallway was empty. When I turned back, the man was closer. Close enough that I could smell him. Not rot, not sweat. Pine and cold metal. He held his hands up between us. They were dry now. Pink. Warm. Much better, he said. Your turn. My turn for what? He tilted his head. To answer the door. The automatic doors behind him slid open. Wind howled in, dragging snow across the floor. Outside, someone stood just beyond the light, knocking on the glass. Once. Twice. Then all the knocking upstairs stopped at the same time. The man leaned in and whispered, slow and clear so I could feel every word hit my ear. If you don't let them in on Christmas, they come inside anyway. The power went out, total darkness, and something grabbed my ankle. Ice-cold fingers locked around my skin through the fabric of my jeans, yanking me sideways. I hit the floor shoulder first, the air punching out of my lungs. I screamed. The sound vanished into the dark like it was swallowed. My back slammed against the tile. My ankle burned where the grip tightened, pulling me toward the hallway. No, 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 I gasped, clawing at the floor. The cold was unreal. Not winter cold. This was deeper, sharp, like the inside of a freezer that had never been opened. I kicked blindly. My heel connected with something solid. A grunt echoed. The grip loosened just enough for me to wrench my leg free. I scrambled backward on my elbows, heart hammering so loud I couldn't hear anything else. Lights, I whispered. Please. The emergency lights flickered on, red, dim. The lobby reappeared in pieces. The front doors were still open, snow drifting inside in lazy spirals. The man was gone, but the hallway was not empty anymore. Doors stood open now, all of them, room after room, dark interiors yawning wide, and inside each doorway, someone stood. Men, women, children, frozen in place, not moving, not breathing. Their skin was pale blue, eyes glassy, mouths slightly open like they'd been interrupted mid-sentence. Christmas sweaters, winter coats, pajamas, guests. I recognized a few. The trucker from room 204 who checked in earlier that night. The elderly couple from 210. The young mom and her son from 115. My stomach twisted. You shouldn't have ignored the knocking, a voice said behind me. I spun. The man stood by the front desk now, calm as ever, hands folded neatly in front of him. You said they knock when they're cold, I whispered. He nodded. They want to come inside. They were already inside, I said. They checked in. His smile faded. They weren't finished. One of the figures in the hallway took a step forward, then another. Their movements were stiff, jerky, like puppets being tested after a long time in storage. No, I said. Stop, please. The man tilted his head. That's not for me to decide. I scrambled to my feet and bolted for the office door behind the desk, slammed it shut, locked it. The knocking started immediately, not on the front doors, on the office door, from the hallway side. Slow, patient. Tap, tap, tap. My radio crackled to life on the desk, static. Then a voice, not the sheriff, not dispatch, my own, breathing. Caleb, let us warm up. I slapped the radio off. The knocking stopped. Silence pressed in so thick my ears rang. Then, a hand slid through the crack beneath the door. Not forced, not broken. It just passed through. Skin stretched thin over bone, fingers too long, nails blackened and cracked. More hands followed, reaching, grabbing. The door bulged inward. Wood groaned. I backed into the corner, sobbing now, shaking so hard my teeth clacked, crying. Please, I cried. I didn't know. The man's voice came through the door, gentle, almost kind. You did know, he said. You felt it. That's why you're awake. The door split down the middle. Cold flooded the office. The hands withdrew. The door opened. The hallway figure stood closer now. Too close. Their mouths opened wider. In unison, they spoke. Warmth, warmth, warmth. The man stepped aside, gesturing toward me like a host inviting guests to dinner. After all, he said softly, someone has to stay on Christmas. The emergency lights blinked once, then went out. The last thing I felt was pressure. Bodies, hands, cold mouths pressed against my skin, sucking heat, breath, life. I woke up to sirens, bright lights, hands shaking my shoulders. Sir, can you hear me? I was on the lobby floor, alone. Morning light spilled through the windows. The doors were closed. The hallway empty. No guests. No man. No shadows. The sheriff stared at me like I was already dead. You're lucky, he said quietly. Plow found you passed out. What about the guests? I croaked. He frowned. What guests? They checked in, I said, last night. He swallowed. Son, he said, this motel's been closed since last Christmas. He handed me a photo pulled from an evidence bag. A picture from a year ago. Front desk, night shift. A man standing behind it. Gray beard, calm smile. Red, angry hands held up to the heater. The name tag on his chest read, Caleb Turner. Underneath, in faded ink, cause of death, hypothermia. And on the back of the photo, written in shaky handwriting, they knock when they're cold.